But at the end of the day, inside every person is that question. What's the purpose of life, right? So I think no matter what we think, or if we feel bitter about bringing something up or no one's going to respond, I think that question is inside everyone, man.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they want to believe it or not. And I think that's a good point. I mean, sometimes when I'm like, I know this is a setting, I know something popped in my head that reminds me of God, or something in the Cynicsar, or something I read about, like I want to say it, but I am the same way. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to be too preachy.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, and it's crazy because we had kind of like a men's meeting last night. It's a thing and it's in part of the Southern Diocese, but there's a chapter in Houston called Brave Men Ministries. I think you might have seen it on Facebook, but I was talking to the priest in Austin, Abuna Benjamin, and I told him that, and he's like, keep preaching, keep talking. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, how people respond to you, that's on them. If you're coming from a good place and honestly have these valid questions and want to stir conversation, if they respond, they respond. If they don't, it is what it is. But even like, it's crazy because random people, I often find those are the moments where you really see God working the most, even sometimes more than him working within your loved ones. When you see a random person on the street or someone crying and you go up to them, like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, I think it's that thread that kind of links all of us together. All of us are part of the creation. We're all created in God's image, and we're all longing for that. Is this really it? Is this?
Well, yeah, and I think like you imagine your nights out, right? Or imagine everyone else in those settings. I think I actually think those situations actually bring that kind of question out the most, right? Because you're like, why am I here? What am I doing here, right? What's the purpose
Exactly.
of this, right? I feel like we're all kind of just like grinding away during the week.
Right.
So we have permission to enjoy this weekend and to do it all over again on Monday and wait for
Exactly.
Friday. And it's like, what is this cycle about here? You realize it when you're not getting that satisfaction in the weekend. You're like, this is what I'm grinding for. Like, this is what it's for. Um, if you're not going to church, I'm sure it feels more especially stronger, that kind of like, what am I doing here feeling. But I
Yeah, I
think,
mean, I
yeah,
always say, sorry to interrupt. I
no,
always
no, no,
say,
go.
man, I always use this phrase, and we're just like ants running around sometimes. Like, from one thing to the next, busybodying, work. Here comes the weekend. Weekends now seem they're going by faster and faster. Here comes the Sunday scaries, back to Monday again. And it's like, I just step back and I'm like, what the heck are we doing in this world, man?
Yeah, I
like, like honestly, I always say to myself, like, what are we doing, man? Like,
yeah.
this? There's something else, man. There's something else.
I told you about you had that quote about from Seneca, and I told you I had like skimmed through his book on the shortness of life, and
Mm,
he talks about men who lament and complain about life is so short, and he's like, no, life is not so short. We just waste most of us waste most of life,
mm,
um, and some of us are so busy that we never like live, that we
yeah.
never enjoy life itself. Um, but that kind of makes me think like, if the things we're doing are just busy waste of time for the most part, distracting us from really living, our work and our extracurriculars, then what are we supposed to be doing with our time? Like if I have a 9 to 5 job, 5 days a week and whatever. So should I look for should I be looking for something else that every day I feel like this is my purpose, or is that necessary, or are we supposed to find that kind of purpose within whatever we're doing, or does it not matter, or like does it not actually matter how we're spending our time as long as we're spending it in a godly way?
That's a
um
that's a great question, man.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I I have my days where I'm working, and I'm just like, I just want to submit my 2 weeks right now and just quit. Bro. I mean,
That's dude. That's like a Tuesday for me, dude.
yeah. I mean,
That was 2 hours ago.
I mean, not to say I don't like what I do, you know,
No, me
but
neither. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
you feel like you could be doing something so much more
exactly, exactly, and especially the days where
meaningful.
yeah, especially the days where I feel like, did I bring value to me? Did I bring value to someone else? Did I bring value to this world? What I did today in my job and so forth. But I have those thoughts all the time. Like, I'll have these random fleeting thoughts. Like, what if I just went and bought a rural home in the middle of Nebraska?
That's like a dream. Yeah.
Yeah, just bought
Montana for me.
Montana. We can go. That's what the Unabomber did. um, you know, and just like live a very simple life. Get your Wi-Fi in your cabin, just live every day, hunt, live that simple life, find something with meaning. I'll have that fleeting thought. Of course, probably will never do that, but um, I don't know, man. I think it's a problem with us, man. I think it's a individual, like it's a humanity problem. I think if we polled so many people,
Yeah.
they'll feel probably 90-95%. I mean, if you look at the literature, the rate of burnout, the rate of purpose, the rate of substance use, I think generally speaking, we're all trying to find that, what gives us value and what helps us. And then, I mean, of course, the Sunday school answer and what we believe is Christ and God and so forth. But a lot of times, the individual, I know I've had my very tough moments with faith as well, too, not that I'm outright denying Christ or anything like that, but my moments when I'm in spiritual lulls
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that bleeds into my work, my social life, my family life, and makes me feel a little bit more bitter. And then I start thinking, what's the purpose? And the main crux of the problem was my personal well-being in regards to relationship with God and the church and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. So I mean, definitely, I feel like times that I've had that bitterness feeling with purpose and life and value has been times where I've been far from God and far from the church, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Have you ever had those kind of periods in your life? It could be a day, could be a week, where you're like, man, what's the point of getting up today? And
Yeah.
you just don't want to get up. I think a lot of people go through that,
Oh yeah.
and they don't have like, because you've had the opposite for sure in life, where you're motivated, you want to get up early, you want to live, you want to do something. Is it idealistic? Is it like naive to think you can live every day like that?
Like
Is that like who lives like that actually?
like wakes
Every
up and smile
like
on their face, alarm went
yes,
off.
I'm so excited that this is a new day and I can't wait to do whatever.
No,
Are
man.
there people really living like that every day?
I don't think so, man. I really don't, and I try to be a realist with things, but I think all of us go through this comprehensive struggle of
the
value,
the
of
hermit in the
motivation.
monastery, the hermit,
Absolutely.
him
It's
too.
him too. Actually, it's interesting you brought that up. I mean, to kind of, go on a little sidebar on, you
Mm-hmm.
know, John Cassian, one of the writers in the 4th century who documented the lives of the monks and the monastics in his books, the conferences and the institutes. He discusses very vividly how a lot of these monks go through the demon of dejection and the demon of acedia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or apathia, or however you want to describe it, which is basically kind of listlessness, like what current terms for depression, anxiety, not really focused, not wanting to hang. Like he describes it perfectly
Mm.
of what we laymen go through. And his remedy for it is exactly the remedy of what some contemporary or modern psychotherapy modalities are. It's absolutely fascinating. I think it's in, I forget which book the conferences are into, but the demon of dejection and the demon of acedia. And to me, it was amazing. I was like, we're over here thinking that the monastics are never disgruntled or never fall into dejection, despair,
Hmm.
not wanting to be motivated. But in fact, they suffer from it just as much as we do. And to them, it's a demonic attack, right? And I think that's a good way of viewing it. Not that necessarily if you're apathetic or depressed, you're being possessed by a demon, but everything is at the end of the day the result of the fall, the result of the weakness of humanity that Satan had drawn us into, you know. But
So do you think pre-fall Adam and Eve just didn't feel, didn't have those off days, those depressed days?
mm-mm,
They didn't, right?
I don't think
Um,
so. I don't think so.
yeah,
There would be no reason to
right.
not be motivated. There would be no reason to not feel full of joy. You're in paradise, created in the image of God. You are walking with God. You are filled with love. The Holy Spirit is indwelling in you. There's no need to feel apathetic